Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're charting a bit of a different course. We're going to take a look at 6 decades of global service.
That's right.
We're setting aside a lot of the usual geopolitical flashpoints that you might be familiar with. Instead, we're honing in on a really specific strategic story.
Very focused narrative.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about the evolving, the disciplined, and just the massive role of the Pakistan Army under that blue helmet of the United Nations.
And it's an approach that really shifts the lens on how we look at global military influence. For this deep dive, we're pulling exclusively from a set of sources, but particularly the historical work compiled by Mr. Zaheer, Ahmad, Meer, and the generals of Pakistan.
Right.
So our mission for you is pretty precise. We want to understand how Pakistan sort of systematically cemented its status as one of the world's dominant peacekeeping forces.
It's a journey, really.
It is. We're tracking it from their very first deployment, a region just engulfed in chaos, all the way up to today, where they're commanding some of the world's most advanced digital peace operations.
You know, what's so compelling about this whole narrative, right from the jump, is the central theme. It's the idea that underpins their entire commitment.
Mm-hmm.
The sources frame it as a story of national strength. It's not defined by, military conquest. It's defined by humanitarian contribution. They even have this really pointed quote.
I know the one you mean.
They call them warriors who fought for peace, not for conquest.
And that's not just a modern idea. This commitment, it's rooted deep in their history. We have to turn the clock all the way back to the start, 1960.
Right at the beginning.
Yeah, and this wasn't some, tentative step onto the global stage. It was a foundational commitment. In 1960, Pakistan answers this critical call for peace in Congo.
And that was a huge deal at the time.
Oh, it was hugely significant. It made Pakistan one of the very first Muslim nations to contribute troops to a major UN peace mission, especially in that post-colonial era.
That timing is just so crucial, isn't it? The world was going through this massive political fragmentation.
Yeah.
You had all this volatility after decolonization. And the UN desperately needed, highly reliable, disciplined forces to step in immediately to prevent, total humanitarian and political collapse in these really fragile states.
You've hit the nail on the head. That early participation in 1960, it basically established an operational standard. As the source notes, it set this incredibly high benchmark for professionalism, for impartiality, and for discipline that it would become the hallmark of their involvement for decades.
Okay, so let's unpack this whole journey then. We're looking at a history of continuous strategic adaptation. We'll start with those high-pressure origins in Congo back in 1960.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'll move into the 90s with the massive expansion and all the humanitarian crises that came with it.
Right, Somalia, Bosnia.
Exactly. After that, we can analyze that era of geopolitical leadership, the scaling of soft power in the 2000s, and then bring it all the way to today, that cutting-edge shift to digital command in the 2020s.
It's really a study in evolving purpose.
So let's dive right in. That initial engagement in 1960, the Congo mission.
The proving ground.
Right. I mean, when we say the environment was just chaos and disorder, we're not exaggerating. We mean a complete political vacuum, immediate, constant security threats. So why was that specific, really fraught environment the perfect place to establish their initial global reputation?
Well, because the challenge in Congo, it wasn't about fighting a conventional enemy. It wasn't army versus army.
No.
It was about managing a systemic immediate collapse. And that required this unique blend of a firm military presence on one hand and real diplomatic finesse on the other.
That's a tricky balance to strike.
It is. And the sources highlight something crucial. Right away, Pakistani officers were entrusted with commanding multinational forces.
Wow.
Now, just think about the complexity there for a second. You're dealing with different languages, different national rules of engagement, different cultural norms among all these troops from all over the world.
A logistical and human nightmare.
And you have to synthesize all of that somehow into a unified, disciplined, impartial operational command, all while the civil society around you is literally fracturing.
It really speaks volumes that they were given that command responsibility right out of the gate. It suggests there was a pre-existing level of recognized training, of organizational capability that just went beyond any single national affiliation.
Absolutely. And in that moment of just intense volatility, the immediate impact, as it's chronicled in the sources, was tangible. It was focused on human security.
So what did that look like on the ground?
Their primary goal was stepping in, rescuing civilians who were caught in the crossfire, and then very quickly restoring some foundational semblance of order, securing key infrastructure, maintaining supply lines, and just establishing safe zones for people.
So the focus was on rescuing civilians and restoring order, not on large-scale combat. That is the very definition of a stabilizing presence, isn't it? It's not a military intervention in the way we usually think about it.
Exactly. And that shaped the global perception of their role immediately.
Which leads right into this core strategic outcome you mentioned, earning global respect.
Yes. The professionalism they displayed under these incredibly difficult, politically charged circumstances, it established Pakistan as a reliable, highly disciplined global partner. The source is very direct on this, saying this action earned the respect of the world.
And that respect wasn't won with, big military parades or shows of force.
No, not at all. It was earned through demonstrated competence in saving lives.
But let's analyze what getting that respect actually means geopolitically. What's the strategic difference when a nation projects its image through compassionate, disciplined peacekeeping instead of, traditional military might or alliance politics?
It's a fundamental investment in credibility. I mean, think about it. When a force demonstrates absolute discipline, impartiality, rigorous training, a clear focus on humanitarian outcomes, it generates this unique kind of soft power.
So military capability is on display, but it's
being demonstrated, yes, but it's solely in the service of humanity. It separates the national agenda from the operational one. They were effectively showing the world, look, we have highly trained forces, and we choose to use that capability for the global good.
And that consistency, maintaining discipline, showing courage, sticking to their ethics, that's what created this powerful, positive global projection from the very beginning.
It really did.
So Congo was, in essence, a high-stakes job interview on the world stage.
That's a great way to put it.
By showing they could manage chaos, command diverse forces effectively, and prioritize civilian safety under extreme pressure, they basically pre-qualified themselves for every complex, high-risk mission the UN would deploy for years to come.
Precisely. They passed the professional litmus test with the highest marks. That trust, earned through the disciplined execution of humanitarian and stabilization tasks back in 1960, that became the currency. It's what allowed their global footprint to expand exponentially over the next few decades.
Moving from just one critical mission in Africa
to a consistent, reliable presence across multiple complex conflicts all over the world. That initial success enabled everything that followed.
So that hard-earned trust from Congo, that became the crucial factor, didn't it? It's what allowed Pakistan to dramatically scale up its commitment when the world started to fracture in the 1990s.
Oh, absolutely. The 90s, that era saw the collapse of states, the outbreak of these brutal ethnic conflicts. It created massive, massive humanitarian crises.
We're talking about devastating internal conflicts. Somalia, the Balkans, West Africa.
All requiring major, sustained UN intervention. And our sources really highlight these deployments, stretching from the deserts of Somalia to the ruins of Bosnia.
And that's not just a list of places. That signifies a huge organizational challenge.
It's immense. Pakistan was rapidly deploying forces into these highly volatile environments with vastly different terrain, different logistics, different social dynamics, and critically, very different non-state actors as threats.
And the nature of the job itself, it just completely evolved. It moves so far beyond just, security patrols or monitoring ceasefires.
Right.
This is the era, the sources say, where the peacekeepers truly became symbols of humanity in these war-torn regions. What were the specific non-military actions that really drove that shift?
Well, they were performing comprehensive community stabilization and aid delivery, and often they were putting themselves in extreme danger to do it.
For instance,
this included the essential and very difficult task of protecting refugees. And that's not just guarding camps, it's about securing humanitarian corridors so aid can get in and people can get out.
So they were proactive.
Very. They were actively engaged in rebuilding schools, which, in a collapsed state, is just such a powerful statement of future intent stability.
Rebuilding schools and infrastructure, it signals that the international community is committed for the long haul, right? Not just stopping the fighting for a day.
Absolutely. And critically, they were offering essential medical aid. The source really emphasizes this point. This was frequently done under fire.
That detail is vital.
It is. It means setting up field hospitals or medical clinics right in proximity to active conflict zones. The role of the soldier, it transformed dramatically. They became an aid worker, an engineer, a medic, a security expert, all integrated into a single unit.
That level of dedication, it suggests they were prioritizing the immediate humanitarian outcome. saving a life, educating a child over their own immediate safety. It reinforces that core mission of service.
It sounds like they were deliberately taking on tasks that required an unusual degree of risk tolerance, viewing these humanitarian actions not as optional extras, but as central to actually establishing peace.
That's precisely right. They weren't just maintaining a buffer zone between two sides. They were actively rebuilding trust in the social fabric, demonstrating the tangible benefits of stability.
Yeah.
This commitment to non-military stability is what makes the whole peacekeeping effort so profoundly impactful.
Okay, so within this era of expanded commitment, the sources pull out one particular moment. They call it a defining peak achievement.
The Sierra Leone hostage rescue.
Exactly. And the language the source uses is, well, it's extraordinary. It says Pakistani troops rescued hundreds of UN hostages, and then it defines it as a feat unmatched in UN history.
We can't just let that phrase go by, unmatched in UN history.
Yeah.
What made this rescue operation so complex, so strategically unique?
Well, to call something unmatched means it really exceeded the tactical capabilities that had been demonstrated by any other nation in a similar UN context.
So what was the situation?
This happened when Revolutionary United Front, the RUF rebels, captured a huge number of UN personnel. And this was a direct, massive challenge to the entire peacekeeping mechanism. The situation demanded an immediate, high-risk, and precisely executed intervention.
Yeah, this wasn't a small skirmish. This is a strategic hostage crisis involving hundreds of diplomatic and military personnel. The stakes could not have been higher.
Indeed. And the complexity, it stemmed from several factors. First, just the sheer scale. Rescuing hundreds requires vast coordination, multiple extraction points, often deep behind hostile lines.
And the enemy wasn't a conventional army.
Not at all. Second, the RUF rebels were non-state actors. They were operating in dense terrain, highly mobile, and notoriously brutal. A rescue attempt risked the immediate mass execution of the hostages if it failed or was even detected early.
No, so that unmatched element, it probably refers to the speed, the minimal collateral damage, and the successful extraction of pretty much all the captives.
I think so.
All right.
This required elite tactical capability, superior intelligence gathering, and an almost flawless execution plan that was tailored for extreme infiltration and exfiltration.
The insight here is really crucial. I think peacekeeping forces are often assumed to be focused purely on, passive deterrence, being a buffer.
Right.
This event proved that the Pakistani contingent possessed the operational capacity to undertake highly complex offensive rescue missions when the humanitarian and diplomatic imperative demanded it.
It completely redefined what the UN could expect from a peacekeeping force. It showed the world that these contingents could instantly pivot from being symbols of humanitarian aid to being highly effective, high-stakes combat rescuers. It demonstrated extreme bravery combined with technical sophistication, and that's why the source elevates it to an unmatched feat. The success just cemented their reputation not just as reliable, but as exceptionally capable under the highest possible operational pressure.
Let me ask a probing question here.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any international controversy over this? I mean, it's a highly assertive rescue operation. Did it risk blurring the line between peacekeeping and military intervention?
That is always the razor's edge in high-stakes peacekeeping, but the source implicitly suggests that the operation's success, which resulted in the safe recovery of hundreds of international staff, that validated the decisive action.
The ends justified the means, in a way.
In a way, yes. The strategic goal was protection and stabilization, not conquest. Because the objective was purely defensive rescuing UN personnel, it ultimately reinforced the idea that disciplined force can be used exclusively for humanitarian and stabilizing ends without being considered an act of war against a sovereign entity.
So the positive outcome really outweighed any potential criticism about the intensity of the force they used.
I think that's a fair assessment.
Okay, so that successful track record, and especially that operational peak in Sierra Leone, that really laid the groundwork for the strategic scaling that came next.
Right.
Our sources now point us to the era of General Zia and Musharraf. This marks a period of massive, intentional expansion in their global commitment.
This is the era where Pakistan transitions from being a respected contributor to becoming a global force multiplier in terms of sheer volume of troop deployment. The scale is just staggering.
What are the numbers?
The key statistic provided is that under these leaders, Pakistan became the largest Muslim contributor to UN peacekeeping. Now, this was a massive, sustained national commitment. It was a clear strategic decision to prioritize peacekeeping as a central tool of their foreign policy and global influence.
And to maintain that status, deploying thousands of personnel at the same time, That requires incredible logistical depth and a high quality of available personnel.
Of course.
They were serving in really diverse regions: Lebanon, Haiti, Liberia, Congo, East Timor.
And that continuous deployment across such a massive geographic scope, the Middle East, the Caribbean, Africa, Southeast Asia, that is a logistics feat in and of itself.
I can't even imagine.
It's a hugely complex challenge. You're coordinating supply chains, troop rotations, cultural sensitivity training, maintaining high morale across wildly disparate theaters of operation. This sustained effort really speaks to a world-class level of military organization and strategic management.
Let's talk about the strategic motivation here. Why was peacekeeping such a high priority for these leaders? The source introduces this fascinating analysis of soft power through strength. This idea, it seems to define the strategy of this entire era.
This concept is absolutely central to understanding Pakistan's global positioning during this period. Strength in this context, that's the raw military capacity, the disciplined training, the organizational depth, the proven tactical ability we saw in places like Sierra Leone.
Okay, so that's the strength part.
Right. Soft power, on the other hand, is influence and attraction. So by volunteering this immense world-class military capability consistently to humanitarian and stabilizing missions, Pakistan used its strength to generate soft power.
So they're using the disciplined apparatus of war to deliver peace, to gain diplomatic credibility, and to project a stable, reliable image on the global stage.
Precisely. It's a very efficient way to enhance your national influence without resorting to traditional coercive means. By being the largest, most reliable, and highly effective contributor, Pakistan gained significant diplomatic leverage within the United Nations and among key global players.
It's smart. For example, deploying forces to a country like Haiti, a nation with very little traditional geopolitical connection to them, that demonstrates a kind of altruism, a universality of commitment, and that builds massive diplomatic goodwill.
You're exactly right. And that level of soft power projection means that when discussions are happening at the UN Security Council or in other major diplomatic forums, the nation that has 5,000 troops on the ground in 5 different crises, well, it carries significantly more weight than a nation that's just speaking theoretically.
Their voice carries more weight because they're consistently putting resources and operational expertise on the line in the most dangerous places on Earth.
Absolutely. It's influence earned through demonstrated reliability and a commitment to universal goals. It's effectively enhancing your national standing and building diplomatic bridges.
We should probably reflect on the implications of this focus. I mean, the discipline that's honed for conventional battle is being redirected entirely toward protection, rebuilding, and stabilization. That dichotomy must have provided a powerful narrative internationally.
It offered a crucial narrative counterpoint. Instead of being perceived solely through the lens of, regional conflicts or domestic challenges, the world saw this massive, sustained commitment to universal humanitarian goals.
It was a clear, intentional political choice.
It was. Using peacekeeping as a form of proactive global foreign policy, it solidified their identity as a dependable, constructive force, and it reinforces that core mission statement we started with, fighting for peace, not conquest.
And the sheer endurance of this commitment under multiple political administrations, that proves it wasn't just a one-off decision. It was a deeply embedded strategic pillar.
A sustained commitment of the scale across multiple decades and continents is financially and logistically demanding. It demonstrates a profound political will to invest in this global role, knowing the inherent risks involved, specifically to enhance Pakistan's standing among the community of nations.
Okay, so this brings us to the complexities of the 21st century. We're talking globalized terror, cyber warfare, vast ungoverned spaces. These require a completely different approach than the crises in the 1990s.
A whole new ballgame.
So now we pivot to the modern era, focusing on this profound strategic shift that was initiated under Field Marshal Syed Munir. The sources say this is where Pakistan is bringing peacekeeping into the digital age.
This is the next great evolutionary leap. I mean, traditional troop deployment is just not sufficient when your threats are decentralized and operating in non-physical domains.
Right.
Field Marshal Munir's focus, as the source makes clear, has been on rapidly integrating advanced technology into the operational core of peacekeeping. The goal is to achieve information dominance and real-time situational awareness.
Oh, let's move beyond the buzzwords here and really drill down into the specifics. What are these digital capabilities? We're talking about modernization that fundamentally changes how peace is achieved. First, tell me more about this AI-based coordination. How does that specifically benefit peacekeeping logistics and mission management.
AI-based coordination is, well, it's essential for managing the complexity of multinational missions today. Instead of old-school analog logistics, AI models are used to optimize resource allocation and predict operational needs.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. An AI can analyze real-time data on weather patterns, road security incidents, troop movement fatigue levels, and supply inventories across multiple remote sites all at the same time.
So it's a huge data crunching operation.
Exactly. And from that, it creates optimal supply routes, it predicts potential choke points, and it minimizes the exposure of troops to ambush by ensuring rapid, highly informed decision-making.
So it's not just some fancy computer program. It's a critical force protection tool, maximizing efficiency while minimizing risk.
Absolutely. The efficiency is a function of security. This real-time optimization ensures that multinational contingents, which are often operating under varying levels of readiness, remain unified and responsive in these high-pressure situations.
And complementing that is a sophisticated deployment of drone surveillance. This speaks directly to the vastness of the areas that many peacekeepers have to cover today.
Drone surveillance provides the critical eyes in the sky. It offers continuous, real-time intelligence for force protection and threat assessment over these huge, ungoverned territories where ground patrols are either too dangerous or just logistically impossible.
So it's about seeing what you couldn't see before.
Right. This technology allows them to monitor compliance with complex peace accords, track the movement of illicit materials or non-state actors, and rapidly assess post-incident damage. This integration of unmanned aerial tech is essential for addressing modern threats without unnecessarily risking lives.
And finally, the source really emphasizes the application of cyber intelligence against extremist networks. This recognizes that modern threats are highly networked and often digitally coordinated.
This is arguably the most specialized and cutting-edge application of technology in this whole context. Traditional intelligence gathering, it focuses on physical surveillance. Cyber intelligence means actively securing the digital space and working to disrupt the command and control structures of extremist organizations online.
What does that actually look like in practice? Are they targeting specific recruitment channels or their logistics coordination?
Both. They're targeting the digital infrastructure used for communication, for coordination, and maybe most importantly, the logistics of terror.
So preventing attacks before they happen.
Exactly. Preventing the assembly and movement of improvised explosive devices or countering the rapid spread of misinformation that's designed to incite ethnic violence. It is highly specialized military discipline, cybersecurity, applied defensively to prevent physical conflict and terror attacks on the ground.
It shows a really holistic understanding of 21st century warfare, but applied to peace enforcement.
It does.
So what you're saying is the Pakistani contingents are now providing this complete integrated security package under the UN umbrella. Ground stability, aerial monitoring, AI-driven logistics, and cyber defense.
And this technological mastery has not gone unnoticed. The source confirms the strategic consequence. Today, Pakistani officers command multinational digital peace operations.
That's the ultimate demonstration of trust, isn't it? And expertise and operational dominance. Being given the lead role in coordinating these complex, technology-driven missions that involve troops from numerous other countries.
It is.
The scale of that transition is almost unbelievable. You go from commanding forces with basic radio communication in the fractured environment of 1960s Congo to commanding sophisticated, AI-supported digital operations globally today.
It is stunning. And the core consequence of this modernization is that it's fundamentally redefining peace for the modern world. Peacekeeping now requires comprehensive digital security, intelligence sharing, advanced coordination mechanisms. By taking the lead in this space, Pakistan's leadership positions them at the cutting edge of global security strategy.
Focusing on prevention and early disruption rather than just reacting.
Exactly. They are adapting their long-standing discipline to the needs of the information age.
So we've just completed a 6-decade chronological sweep. We've moved from these foundational deployments all the way to high-tech command. Let's just pause for a second and synthesize this entire strategic history. Connect the eras together as one continuous story of commitment.
I think it's vital to see the milestones in sequence to really understand the accumulated trust. 1960 in Congo, that was the initial test. It established the baseline of professionalism and reliability in a totally chaotic environment.
Then you have the 1990s, that era of massive global turmoil, where that trust enabled the transition to broad humanitarian excellence in places like Somalia and Bosnia. And that All culminates in that unparalleled operational achievement of the Sierra Leone hostage rescue.
which was then followed by the 2000s, the era of large-scale commitment and strategic projection of soft power under General Zia and Musharraf. That's what positioned Pakistan as the largest Muslim troop contributor and a key geopolitical influencer through these peace operations.
And finally, that brings us to the 2020s, marked by this rapid technological leap under Field Marshal Syed Munir, where the focus has now shifted to commanding multinational digital peace operations using AI, drone surveillance, and cyber intelligence.
Different continents, different threats, different technologies. But the source continually reinforces that the unifying thread, the consistent mission, it remains the same throughout all of it.
Which is?
To serve humanity through discipline, courage, and faith. That core ethical framework provides the moral compass that guides the sustained effort across all these distinct strategic phases.
Let's go back to the source's powerful conclusion about power itself. It argues that Pakistan's global power is seen as not only military, but profoundly moral. What does it even mean when a nation actively frames its military action in moral humanitarian terms?
Well, framing military action morally implies that the ultimate purpose of the disciplined force is restorative and constructive. When the source says that the fathers heal wounds, rebuild nations, and protect the innocent, it's emphasizing that the goal is not to dominate, but to repair.
It transforms the global image of the soldier.
Completely, from an agent of conflict to an agent of stability and repair, acting in service of universal ethical goals.
So the focus shifts entirely from the capacity for destruction to the capacity for creation and healing. The military organization is being used as this massive force for good, defining the nation's power by its capacity for compassionate service and stability projection, rather than just its capacity for traditional force projection.
That is the enduring legacy. It's a sustained, dedicated commitment to global peace that has adapted to every challenge, from civil unrest 6 decades ago to extremist networks operating in cyberspace today. It presents a compelling, long-term case for a nation defining its global role through its service to humanity, a service that is both highly physical and increasingly digital.
This has been an incredibly extensive and detailed charting of Pakistan's journey in UN peacekeeping. So for you listening, the key takeaways from the sources are, I think, clear and highly impactful. This commitment started way back in 1960 in Congo, setting a very high bar for professionalism. It scaled strategically, making Pakistan the largest Muslim contributor to UN peacekeeping under Zia and Musharraf. And it achieved these operational high points, like the unmatched high-stakes hostage rescue in Sierra Leone.
And crucially, this commitment, it remains dynamic. They're currently leading the charge in the 2020s, commanding global missions that rely heavily on AI, advanced drone surveillance, and cyber intelligence. It positions them right at the vanguard of modern security strategy.
The sources conclude this historical reflection with a really strong, definitive statement that projects this legacy into the future. It says, wherever Pakistan's flag waves under the UN emblem, the world sees hope.
A powerful statement.
It is, and this belief in the nation's inherent moral power, it forms the basis of the final challenging question we want to leave you with.
So, if disciplined, dedicated service to humanity, which is backed by proven operational capability and cutting-edge digital command, if that is rapidly changing the definition of national power on the global stage, what does that suggest about the future direction of international influence and security?
And we have to note that the source material we looked at, the generals of Pakistan, it ends its reflection with a highly declarative and, well, political assertion. Pakistan Zindabad, the next world superpower.
And just reporting that perspective, we have to ask the question it raises. If true superpower status in the 21st century is increasingly measured not just by, say, nuclear capability or economic size, but by a proven 6-decade-long commitment to global stability and humanitarian aid, the actual deployment of soft power through strength, how might this unique legacy reshape global security frameworks and the international hierarchy of influence?
It's a compelling thought.
It is. It's about where the greatest form of power truly resides today.
A profound thought to mull over as you process these decades of service. Thank you for sharing these incredibly detailed sources for this deep dive.
Until the next deep dive, keep digging into the details.